Good morning, St. Francis. Good morning, people of God. It is Tuesday, the 29th day of the month of April 2025. It is Tuesday of the second week of Easter, the 10th day of the Easter season. And it is also today the day we honor Catherine of Siena, a memorial to Catherine of Siena. She is the first memorial of the official memorial of the Easter season that we honor this year. So on this 10th day of the Easter season, again, bunny ears because it still is the Easter season, we just got done with morning prayer, and part of our morning prayer this day today was to bless these Marian shrines that are in front of the statue of St. Francis and Gubbio. A tradition within the fourth grade is to create these Marian shrines as we enter into the month of May to honor Mary. And so the great handiwork of, and as I'm backing up, making sure I'm not going to trip or anything like that, the great handiwork of our fourth grade students in creating these wonderful, beautiful shrines that are up here. Again, it is still Easter, although we will honor Mary in May. Again, this is where, again, the Easter season, and the sun is right in my face, is where the Easter season, again, has to compete in some ways with so many other events that are happening, especially within the United States or within this Western Hemisphere at this time of the year. But again, we never lose sight of the fact, and even with Pope Francis's passing to God, that it is Easter. Because it is Easter, we can celebrate as we do, and we can continue to live and have a future as we do. And so our first reading today from the Acts of the Apostles is now this great description of the early Christian community where no one was in want and the community shared what they needed, and everyone was taken care of and cared for, and there was food for everybody and places and money and things like that. And it talks about Joseph called Barsabbas, I think it was, a son of encouragement, who sells a piece of property and gives the proceeds from that to the apostles. Again, was this just an exaggeration? Was this an imaginary? Was this an ideal? Or was the Christian community truly caring about each other? And there might have been evidence for that because, again, the newness of all of this. Now, it might have to change, again, as the community grows and other people, perhaps without the same fervor, come into the Christian community. But the ideal was always there, a community that cares and cares in the here and now. It was not a community that was looking to the life to come and making preparations for that, but it was a community living here and now, because that was the preparation for the life to come by the care that we show each other here and now. And again, are we capable of that is always a question. And is that just too much of a pipe dream for people to care about each other? But remember, again, in Jesus' teaching in that Sermon on the Plain, where to love, to forgive, to give, to be merciful, and not to judge, are basically the blueprint for what it means to live this Christian life. And now that Christ is risen, the ability to live that, and the fact that we are given the Eucharist to bring Christ into our very selves, allows us perhaps an ability to be able to live in this way if we just tap into it, if we just allow ourselves the ability to care, a desire to care, a purposeful willingness to care. That is what is asked for us as believers. And in this Easter season, again, the looking is not within ourselves, only more as Lent is always about, but now it's a looking outward to others and what we can give to others. The conversation with Nicodemus continues in John's Gospel today. Again, might be a bunch of gobbledygook that doesn't seem that Nicodemus is truly understanding Jesus, and Jesus is making it easy for Nicodemus to understand what he's saying about being born from above and again a new life that comes from him. But the end of this kind of discussion, or the end of this part of the discussion, again, talks about Jesus being lifted up. Again, a premonition, a foreshadowing of the cross. And like the serpent was lifted up in the desert when the Israelites were disobeying God, and God has pity on them. God sends serpents to hurt them, and then God has pity on them, and then asks Moses to create this staff with a serpent on it so that they can look upon it and be healed. So too, again, Jesus's lifting up on the cross, again, is a sign of healing. Again, and so this is where, again, one looks upon it to be healed. One does not look upon it to have guilt. One does not look upon it to feel, I am responsible for this, and my sins are too great, and whatever. If we're not going to look upon the cross as a sign of healing, then we are not listening to what Jesus said to Nicodemus, and we're just as befuddled as Nicodemus is, because we're not allowing ourselves to think more deeply about what's possible with God and what's possible with Christ, which is really what that conversation with Nicodemus is really about. Is sometimes our faith is so flatline that we do our devotions, we pay our tithes, we do all these kinds of things. We spend an hour or more, or a little bit more or less, within a church on Sunday, and we figure that that's all that there is to living living this life as believers, and it's not. It's seeing more deeply. It's understanding more deeply. It is probing more deeply into what it is that God can reveal to us about this world and ourselves. Again, the wonder and beauty of this Easter season is to take this time to do that, to deepen, what it means to be a believer in this world, and a believer in this world. Not a believer looking to leave this world, or a believer looking to stand on a plane above this world, but to be a believer in this world. And how is it that we live our lives in ways that demonstrate that belief in true and authentic ways? A continued blessed Easter season, St. Francis and people of God, and may the Lord give you his peace.